Of housekeeping first. The toilets are on the first floor foyer area. We are not expecting a fire alarm, but just in case the fire exits at the two corners at the top of the room, and don't take the lift if there is a fire alarm. The building is non-smoking, so please don't smoke or we'll have a fire alarm. So thank you. So I'm very happy to welcome you here tonight because a wonderful community of translators, authors, and writers, and just friends have met once a year here at the British Library for the past few years. For us at the library, it is a pleasure to welcome you here because we are dedicated to fostering a love of literature and languages. The British Library holds incomparable collections in almost 500 languages and has a dedicated multilingual staff and an international community of researchers, students, and visitors. Our Asian and African, European languages departments and the team from the Eccles Institute for the America and Oceania collect the source material of this translation, and there are an inexhaustible reserve of books waiting to be translated. I dare say that we are a good place and a good hub to discuss the joys and challenges of translation. Last May, and I talk about this because this is my department of European languages, but we hosted in this very theater the second European Writers' Festival organized by the European Union National Institute of Culture in London, in partnership with the European Literature Network and with us, the British Library, when more than 30 authors from across Europe gathered to discuss the theme of transformation and how storytelling and its storytelling in all its original languages, as well as its translations, are changing and challenging literary boundaries and physical borders. Other projects in the library also have events and are hubs for translators. The Qatar project recently announced that they had reached their 4th million word translated from English to Arabic, for instance. And as it is our essential duty to bring joy and beauties for the entire world to readers here, to multilingual and English speakers alike, we can only do that through the commitment of translators and publishers in the UK to making newly translated works available for our collections. So thank you very much to all of you present here tonight, because this is all thanks to you. And I wish you a joyful and excited evening here in the London Center and at the British Library. And I will now leave the floor to Jan Giles, the Master of Ceremony for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sophie, for the introduction. Good evening, everyone. It's great to see so many friendly faces here. I'm thrilled that so many more of you are joining us via the live stream from home. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ian Giles. By day, I'm a translator of Swedish, but by night, I'm the chair of the Translators Association and your compere for this evening. If you're not familiar with the TA, it's the exclusive enclave in the Society of Authors for Translators, doing very much what it says on the tin. We were founded in 1958 to provide translators with an effective means of protecting their interests and sharing their concerns. And we have been doing that ever since, advocating for the rights and needs of literary translators. Memorable campaigns have included the adoption of PLR for authors and translators in the 1970s, as well as the more recent Translators on the Cover campaign. To borrow a phrase from a well-known Woodstain brand, the Translators Association does what it says on the tin. So if you're not a member, do consider becoming one. All right, it's a sales pitch over. So it's wonderful to welcome you to the Knowledge Centre here at the British Library, and it's imperative that I start by offering our profuse thanks to our very splendid hosts for having us and for their continued and enthusiastic support for translated books and their translators, I'd also like to offer our heartfelt thanks to all our generous sponsors whose contributions make these prizes possible. We wouldn't be here without you. And of course you, the audience, for helping make it a real party. I'm sure you, like me, have been startled by the delightful variety that the various shortlists for tonight's awards offer up. We have translations from Arabic, Dutch, Eastern Armenian, French, German, Japanese, Kazakh, Portuguese, Spanish, and Uyghur, which take us all over the world through fiction, poetry, and prose. And here's the plug. If you still haven't got your hands on them, they can be purchased online via our bookshop.org, and a contribution from every purchase goes towards the Society of Authors Access Fund. Shall we get down to business? This evening, I'll be welcoming our runners-up and winners onto the stage and inviting our winners to share a few choice remarks with us or treat us to a reading. Please do be generous with your applause. If you're called up onto the stage, please can you use the stairs on your right, stage left, your right, and our photographer, Adrian, who might wave, will be ready to take your picture. Prize giving, says the title. Our first award of the evening is the John Florio Prize for translation from Italian, sponsored by the Italian Cultural Institute and judged this year by Marmy Blue, Jamie McKendrick, and Sandra Sillipo. Judge Marmy said, "The 4 books on this list are dynamic as they are ambitious in their literary prowess. Themes of family, identity, conflict, and confidence splash across the pages of these novels in various shapes, with both author and translator working meticulously to deliver stories that demand the reader's attention." So first, congratulations to runner-up Brian Robert Moore for a translation of A Silence Shared by Lala Romano. Sadly, Brian can't join us this evening, but congratulations to the winner of the John Florio Prize, Jenny McPhee, for a translation of Lies and Sorcery by Elsa Morante. Is Jenny in the house? Jenny is in the house.
Should I hold this up? Well, thank you. I often say that being a literary translator requires both hubris and humility in equal measure. I wouldn't be standing before you without that hubris, yet at the moment I am overwhelmed by humility. Fortune favored me this time, but so many extraordinary translators, especially those of the shortlist, are equally deserving of this honor. My deepest gratitude goes to the Society of Authors, the British Library, the Italian Cultural Institute, and to my brilliant editors, Edwin Frank and Sarah Kramer at New York Review Books, as well as Josephine Graywood at Penguin UK, and of course to Elsa Morante, wherever she may be. I like to think she's close, reveling in this recognition. She was devastated when the first English translation of her novel in 1951 cut more than 200 pages at random. So translation for me is a form of meditation, but it is also a form of activism and resistance. It dissolves borders, both real and imagined, offering us more profound, more nuanced, more inclusive, and diverse understanding of what it means to be human. So my sincere gratitude to all of you my fellow translation activists, for being here tonight. So I'm going to read just a few paragraphs, 2-3 paragraphs from the very beginning of Elsa Morante's extraordinary first novel, Lies and Sorcery, and it was published in 1948. And among many things, her novel is a searing critique of humanity's perennial attraction to fascism, never named outright in the novel, yet omnipresent. Introduction to the story of my family, one woman dead, another buried alive. 2 months have passed since the death of my adoptive mother, my guardian, my only friend. I was orphaned as a young girl over 15 years ago, and she took me in, adopted me, and gave me a home with her. Her broad circle of friends and acquaintances knows about the tragedy by now. The occasional visits from those who weren't yet aware have stopped, and no one comes up anymore to the old apartment where I live by myself. Even our one recently hired servant, inventing some excuse or other, quit less than a week after the funeral. I expect she found the emptiness, the silence within walls, once so accustomed to crowds and pandemonium, intolerable. The inheritance left to me by my guardian permits me to live with relative ease, and yet I have no desire to engage a new servant. I've been shut up here for weeks. I see no human face except that of the concierge, whom I've asked to bring me groceries. I see only my own face, reflected in the apartment's many mirrors. While I aimlessly float about these rooms, my reflection sometimes sneaks up on me. I jump when I catch sight of a shape drifting through these gloomy, lonely waters, and then, recognizing myself, I freeze and stare at my image as if I were confronted by a venomous Medusa. I look at the frail, nervous person bundled up in her usual dress, her unkempt ebony braids piled high on her hair in the old-fashioned style, her face wan, her skin dark, her eyes big and bright, anticipating, as is her wont, the appearance of ghosts, the casting of spells. And I ask myself, who is this woman? Who is this Eliza? Thank you very much.
Thank you. The Premio Via Inclán for translation from Spanish was judged this year by Valentina Aparicio, Gabby Sambucetti, and Jared Woodward. Judge Valentina said, "The works on this shortlist reveal the versatility of these skilled translators who have brought to English language readers volumes that are truly worthy of being made accessible to a wider global audience." So, congratulations to our runner-up, Kit Maud, for a translation of Cousins by Aurora Venturini. And sadly, Kit can't be with us this evening. A round of applause. Please put your hands together for the winners of the Premio Via Inclán, Chris Andrews and the late Edith Grossman and Alistair Reid for a translation of Macroll's Prayer and Other Poems by Alvaro Mutis. Now, I'm afraid that Chris cannot be with us as he's based in Australia, but he has sent this video.
Good evening. I'm sorry I can't be there in person. I'm sending this video from Gadigal Wongal land in Sydney. First of all, I'd like to thank the Society of Authors for organising this wonderful suite of language-specific translation prizes, and the judges of the Premio Via Inclán for choosing Macroll's Prayer and Other Poems. The book was conceived by Alistair Reid, who was a good friend of Alvaro Mutis and had translated many of his poems for publication in magazines and journals. He was planning to continue and supplement his own work with Edith Grossman's translations of prose poems from the adventures and misadventures of Macroll in order to make a volume for New York Review Books. Unfortunately, the project remained unfinished at his death in 2014. I'd like to thank Edwin Frank of New York Review Books for entrusting me with its completion. Reading Alistair Reid's wonderful translations of Borges was one of the experiences that led me to start learning Spanish, and it was of course a great honour to work alongside translators of the stature of Edith Grossman and Alistair Reid. On a personal note, I'd like to thank Michelle de Kretzer for all her support and encouragement. And I'll finish by reading the shortest poem in the book, in Spanish and English. It's entitled Amen. Amén. Que te acoja la muerte con todos tus sueños intactos, al retorno de una furiosa adolescencia, al comienzo de las vacaciones que nunca te dieron, te distinguirá la muerte con su primer aviso. Te abrirá los ojos a sus grandes aguas, te iniciará en su constante brisa de otro mundo. La muerte se confundirá con tus sueños, y en ellos reconocerá los signos que antaño fuera dejando, como un cazador que a su regreso reconoce sus marcas en la brecha. Amen. May death receive you with all your dreams intact, on your return from a furious adolescence. At the start of the vacation you were never granted, death will honour you with its first warning. It will open your eyes to its great waters, acquaint you with its steady breeze from another world. Death will blend into your dreams and recognize in them the signs it left here and there in days gone by, as a homing hunter recognizes his marks along the trail. Thank you.
Our third prize of the evening is the Saif Gobash Banipal Prize for translation from Arabic, sponsored by the Banipal Trust for Arab Literature and the Gobash family, and judged by Michael Keynes, Laura Watkinson, Nariman Youssef, and Chair Raphael Cohen. The judges said the shortlisted books are all thought-provoking, bold works of real creativity, and all of which have been translated with great care and reflection. Congratulations to the winner of the Saif Gobash Banipal Prize, Catherine Halls, for a translation of Rotten Evidence by Ahmed Naji.
Evening, everybody. Thank you so much. I'm really thrilled to have been awarded this prize by my colleagues on the judging panel, and I'd like to say thanks very much to the Gobash family and the Banipal Trust, who are real pioneers in making Arabic literature popular in the UK and in the English-speaking world. So it's a real honour. And it's also a great pleasure to see Rotten Evidence, which has so far only been published in the USA, getting some attention over here. And I'm particularly glad that the judges found this book funny, because although it's a prison memoir, it's a very kind of upbeat and witty one. Ahmed Naji's Rotten Evidence is the story of how an Egyptian novelist spent 10 months behind bars because a fictional sex scene he'd written caused an unsuspecting reader to experience palpitations and nausea. Now, it sounds too absurd to be true, and yet there are thousands of others imprisoned in Egypt on even flimsier grounds than that. A chapter of this book is dedicated to one of those people, our friend and colleague Ala Abdel Fattah, who is a writer and activist who has been imprisoned by every single Egyptian government that's been in power during his lifetime. Although he finished serving his most recent 5-year sentence on September the 29th last year, the Egyptian authorities have refused to release him. Now, his mother, who's very elderly, Leila Souaif, has been on hunger strike since then, which means that today is her 136th day consuming nothing but black coffee and herbal tea. Doctors at St Thomas's here in London, where she lives, are extremely worried about her. Ala holds dual British and Egyptian citizenship, but so far this government, like the Conservative government before them, has failed miserably to secure his release. They haven't even managed to get a consular visit to Ala. Time is running out to bring Ala back to his family and to save his mother's life. I'd like to take this opportunity to call again on Keir Starmer and David Lammy to use the many avenues of leverage available to the UK government to immediately secure Ala's release. And for those of you here who are hearing about Ala for the first time, please visit freeala.net to find out more about his case. Please write to your MPs and ask them to take action. Free Ala, free them all. Thank you very much.
Next up is one of my absolute favourites, the TA First Translation Prize. This prize recognises a debut translation from any language and is generously endowed by Daniel Hahn and Joe Heinrich. The prize is shared between translator and editor. As Daniel himself put it, it's recognising new talent in the translation profession, but also those editors who take a chance on a debut and then work with them to make them better, a role we all depend on but don't acknowledge often enough. This year, the prize has been judged by Raoul Berry, Gesh Ibsen, and Claire Richards. Judge Gesh said, "The shortlist covers a wonderful range of cultures, languages, and genres. Reading it was like travelling a dozen thought zones from your armchair. A really good book makes your world shift, if only momentarily, and thanks to these translators, mine did just that several times over." Please put your hands together for runners-up James Young and Stella Sabine for The Love of Singular Men by Victor Heringer. Oh, gosh. Would you like to say anything?
Say something very quickly.
No, it's all right. And then the winners. Congratulations to the winners of the TA First Translation Prize, Diana Kachian-Shans and Tatiana Rickman, for a translation of a book untitled by Shoshana Vargian. Sadly, Tatiana and Diana can't be with us, but they have sent this video.
Tatiana, is that you?
Diana?
I can't believe we're bumping into each other at the British Library. Is this the Queen's room?
It really is improbable. Though I think it's fitting, given the premise of the book, that we should be two women in literature meeting in a place we'd never been together.
It's as Shushan writes. It's a meeting that never took place.
Well, it certainly is a surprise, and of course, an honor to be here. It has been a privilege to edit this incredible work and to help bring it to an English-speaking audience. Clearly, the real star tonight is you, Diana, for the deep work and vast time you have devoted to this project, so that I and everyone here tonight could read a book untitled at all. I'm so grateful to be here tonight and to see a book get the recognition it deserves.
I'm so honored and humbled to be included among so many accomplished and worthy nominations for this prize tonight by the Society of Authors. A translation, of course, is always indebted to the mastery of its sister text, and for that, I'm so grateful first and foremost to Shushan for her generosity in sharing with me this most intimate meditation on loss and resistance. Few Armenian readers fully grasped the weight of Girkan Vernagir, a book untitled, when it was first published, and yet its experimental form and wordplay inaugurated a stylistic shift in contemporary Armenian literature. I began translating it in 2013, and one of the biggest obstacles was finding a publisher who recognized Armenian literature's unique voice. I'm grateful to Oust Press, especially you, Tatiana, and Tilted Axis Press in the UK, for seeing that brilliance in Shushan's prose. Another obstacle was the early dismissal I faced when told there were no Armenian women of literary merit. A book untitled explores the traumatic effects of cultural, governmental, and heteropatriarchal censorship. This book, though, it is a product of a queer kinship between author, translator, and editor who worked usumna sirov, with loving care, to bring it to you.
Այստեղ նստած թարգմանչի անհարմար աթորին, այն քարնանային օրվանից շատ ամիսներ հետո, ձերքումս հանգչում է 40 փառաստեղծություններից զբաղած բնակիրը։ Եթե չգիտեք ինչի մասին է խոսքը, ապա խնդրում եմ մի աղվաղեք գործի էությունն ու իմաստը։ Մի դարձրեք այն հասկանալի, ընթերցող, միգուցե այս խոսքերը քեզ են ուղղված։
Here, sitting on the translator's uncomfortable chair, many months after that spring day, I'm holding the manuscript of 40 poems in my hand. If you don't know what it's about, then I beg you, please don't distort the essence and meaning of the work. Don't make it comprehensible. Reader, perhaps these lines are also directed at you. I'm deeply honored to receive this award tonight. Thank you.
Our fifth prize of the evening, the Schlegel-Tieck Prize, celebrates German translation and has been judged by Gabriel Bardamosi, Andrew Okandia, and Sean Whiteside. Judge Andrew said, "This year's shortlist comprises fascinating genres from social political cataclysm to close personal experiences, hopes, and ambitions. The genius of these books, ranging from poetry to prose, reveal the author's uncompromising imagination, linguistic variations maintaining subtlety, and flawlessness of style and register." First, congratulations to runner-up Imogen Taylor for a translation of Glorious People by Sasha Saltzman. Now, please welcome to the stage the winner of the Schlegel-Tieck Prize, Andrew Shanks, for a translation of Revelation Freshly Erupting, collected poetry by Nellie Sachs.
Thank you. I've worked on my translations of Nellie Sachs for over 40 years now. I'm particularly grateful to Michael Schmidt for publishing them. Sachs was a Jew still in Berlin as late as mid-May 1940, which is when she escaped to Stockholm. Her poetry is a working through of that trauma. Although I found that her work is largely forgotten in the English-speaking world, I consider her to be the religiously most interesting poet of the 20th century, the most truly prophetic in the classic sense. I'm a Church of England priest, and I remember when I was training for ordination, it being said that since we were going to be, amongst other things, professional officiants at funerals, in order to get our heads round that prospect, we ought prayerfully to consider and plan our own funerals well in advance. So in that spirit, I've recently been thinking which of my Nelly Sachs translations I'd like to be read at my funeral. Maybe this very short one, which she wrote in 1963 with its echoes from the book of Genesis. It comes from part 2 of her collection Glühende Rätsel, Ember Riddles, a sort of prayer. Wo nur finden die Worte, die erhellten von Erstlingsmeer, die Augen aufschlagenden, die nicht mit Zungen verwundeten, die von den Lichter Weisen versteckten, für deine entzündete Himmelfahrt. Die Worte, die ein zum Schweigen gesteuertes Weltall mitzieht in deine Frühlinge. Where, though, oh, where to find them? Those words which the first waves reflected. Words which belong to the eye's first amazement. Words which tongues haven't mangled. Words concealed by the angels of wisdom. Words like rockets ascendant. Words submerged in your clamorous world, on its way to amendment.
This year, I'm thrilled that we're welcoming a new prize to the fold, which will celebrate avant-garde and groundbreaking works translated from any language into English. To talk about the origins of the prize and its namesake, please join me in welcoming to the stage Alessandro Galenzi and Elisabetta Minervini from Alma Books, the sponsors of the prize.
Good evening. We are delighted to announce the John Florio Translation Prize, a new annual award for English translation of ambitious, groundbreaking works of literary merit and general interest, run by the Society of Authors in association with the Whitefriars Club. The prize, which opened for submissions earlier this month, will see the winner awarded £3,000 and the runner-up £1,000 at the Society of Authors Translation Prize ceremony next year. I would like to thank the Society of Authors, and in particular Robin Law and Natalie Thorpe, for adding this prize to their prestigious roster of translation awards and for agreeing to administrate it on our behalf. Thank you too to Judy Douglas-Boyd and all the members of the White Friars, a prestigious literary club founded in 1868, for giving the prize such a warm reception, as well as providing support and an enthusiastic advisory board. Submissions to the John Calder Translation Prize can be from any language into English. Works must be full length, but can be fiction, non-fiction, or poetry. The judges will be announced in the summer. The prize is awarded in honor of the late John Calder, one of the preeminent English language publishers of avant-garde literature in the second half of the 20th century. He championed fiction in translation, as well as the free word and authors who were suppressed or discriminated against for political or other reasons. Works submitted to the John Calder Translation Prize are encouraged to be ambitious in nature, by virtue of style, exploration of themes, or complexity of the translation, and distinguished by the highly personal and imaginative approach of the authors to their subject. We hope that this new prize will be a suitable tribute to a towering figure of British publishing, as well as an additional opportunity for translators of English literature and authors the world over to make a lasting, meaningful impact with their work in today's saturated world of books. Again, thanks very much to the Society of Authors for making all of this possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, not only are we celebrating translation and translators tonight, but it's also a very special birthday. The Scott Moncrief Prize, sponsored by the Institut Français du Royaume-Uni for translation from French, has just turned 60. I know many of you joined us for a week of virtual and physical events to celebrate at the end of January, and now the party continues. Our thanks go first to the judges Constance Batman, David Mills, and Shumona Sinha. Judge David said, "It's a testament to the living vibrancy of the French language that our shortlist contains so many books from the wider Francophone world. All these books will live on and reach a wider world through these exceptional translations." First, congratulations to runner-up Mark Polizzotti for a translation of Kibogo by Scholastique Mukasonga. Congratulations to the winners of the Scott Moncrief Prize, Patrick McGuinness and Stephen Romer, for a translation of The Day's Ration Selected Poems by Gilles Ortlieb. Sadly, Patrick can't join us this evening, but we're pleased to have co-translator Stephen Romer and author Gilles Ortlieb here.
Disappear, Gilles. Hello, good evening. Hello. As Ian just said, Patrick, alas, can't be here. Friend, colleague, co-translator. He's at a family funeral in Belgium, and he's very disappointed not to be here. So, in fact, I'm going to read his short text. With a few comments of my own woven in, and then Gilles and I will read a poem. So this is Patrick's text. As a student, I used to look in awe at translators who won the Scott Moncrieff Prize and wonder what the relationship was between translation classes at school or university, dull, grinding, chewing over old exam papers, and the art of translation itself, such a mysterious fusion of craft and graft and magic. What makes it especially special is that today the Scott Moncrieff is shared, and I'm sharing it with SR, who introduced me to Gilles and to his work, a friendship and a reading life that have meant so much to me. I'll just add that Poetry in Fits and Starts is about, I think the book has been about 25 years in the making, or in the non-making, and it's just wonderful that it's coincided with the 60th anniversary of this great prize. We felt Gilles deserved an English volume because, unlike so many of those abstract and ultra-philosophical French poets who don't work in English, because the concepts and the register in which they work don't translate, Ortlieb speaks to what we might call the lyric tradition and the value it places on shared realities communicated in a shared language. His work isn't just a matter of words on a page, but a way of paying attention to the world and to those parts of the world that usually don't make it into poetry. Attention is a form of respect for people and places, for their pasts and their presents. Every page of this book bears witness to that, happily now also in parallel text. We'd both like to thank the British Library, the Society of Authors, the judges, especially for their choice of poetry. There's been a lot of poetry tonight. It's wonderful. We're grateful to Gilles himself, who's here, to Sean O'Brien, who can't be here, who wrote the excellent introduction. Special thanks to Tony Ward and Angela Jarman of ARC up in Yorkshire, who alas can't be here, but I think are watching us on the live stream, and to the editor Jean Bose-Bayer for help and advice. We're grateful to them for keeping the light on for poetry and for translation and for paying attention in an inattentive world. Perhaps you'll come up and read. We're just going to read one short poem, first in French, then English.
Good evening. Un geste infime et ancien que celui consistant à appuyer le dos de la cuillère tout contre le bord du bol ou de l'assiette à soupe pour empêcher celle-ci de goûter sur le trajet de la bouche. Rite sonore, à peine, lesté par une longue pratique dans l'enclos de cuisine trop ou mal éclairé, dans le périmètre des campagnes sourdes ou banlieues verticales à l'écart. Geste de femme ou d'homme seul sous le plafonnier, de pensée ralentie, revenant buter sur l'obstacle de pensée, quand la main, suivant la courbe, s'abaisse un peu vers la fin dans l'assentiment d'exister. Thank you.
A movement, tiny and venerable, consists in running the back of the spoon over and against the edge of the plate or soup bowl to stop it from dripping on its journey to the mouth. A rite faintly audible and worn through by long practice in over or underlit narrow kitchens within the confines of a one-eyed village or a vertical suburb. Left to themselves, an action that belongs to a lonely man or woman under a bare bulb, thoughts slowed, returning to stumble against the obstacle of thinking when the hand, following the curve, drops a little, right at the end, as it re-acknowledges existence. Thank you very much.
Next, we celebrate the Vondel Translation Prize for translation from Dutch, sponsored and administered by the Dutch Literature Foundation and judged by David Doherty, Claire Loudon, and Susan Mazzotti. The judges described their shortlist as 5 extraordinary books, 5 remarkable translations. Congratulations to runner-up David Mackay for a translation of We Slaves of Suriname by Anton de Com. Sadly, David cannot be with us this evening. Yeah. Now, please put your hands together for this year's winner, Kristen Gehrman, for a translation of The History of My Sexuality by Toby Lackmarker.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. This is truly an honor. I found that one of the most delightful and challenging things about literary translation is capturing the voice. Because with this voice, you have to do the impossible. You have to transform it into a new language, a whole new system with different words, a different grammar, a different rhythm, different points of reference, different ways of moving people, of making them laugh. And yet somehow, when it's all said and done, it still has to feel like the same voice. This was something I thought about a lot while working on this book, The History of My Sexuality. Here I am with a narrator who is coming of age, figuring out who she is, and she's funny. But she's also serious, introspective, fragile, and very much a child of the insular Amsterdam world that she grew up in. Her voice is constantly evolving, and for the translator, it was about moving with it, trusting it for what it was and what it could become in a new language. For helping me capture this voice, I'd like to thank the author, Toby Lackmarker, not only for writing this brilliant book, but also for all the thoughtful insight he provided during the translation process. I'd also like to thank the team at Granta Books, particularly my editors Jason Arthur and Daniel Bird, who's here tonight, for their sharp, subtle edits and for believing so wholeheartedly in my translation. And of course, none of this would be possible without the Society of Authors and the Dutch Foundation for Literature, which not only champions Dutch literature abroad and coordinates the prize that I'm receiving tonight, but has also stimulated my career and that of so many other literary translators with workshops, mentorships, and above all, a sense of community. To the members of the jury, David Doherty, Susan Mazzotti, and Claire Loudon, thank you for your careful consideration of all the nominated works. I am sure it was fulfilling but difficult work. And I'm truly honored to have been in the company of so many other equally prize-deserving translators. Finally, I'd like to thank my husband, Friso, here with me tonight, for his love and support, for being my human Dutch dictionary and the best reader on demand you could ask for always lending a critical eye and ultimately taking my side. So, thank you again. It's an honor.
Our 8th and final prize of the evening is also our newest, celebrating its 2nd year. That prize is the Great Britain Sasakawa Foundation Prize for Translation from Japanese, sponsored by the Great Britain Sasakawa Foundation. We have judges Nozomi Abbey, Nick Bradley, and Miyagi to thank for selecting a great shortlist. Judge Nick said, "While the judging was difficult, it was a pleasure to read all the submitted works, and I'm so pleased to see Japanese writing getting the attention it deserves in Britain." So first, congratulations to runner-up David Boyd for a translation of The Factory by Hiroko Oyamada. Sadly, David can't be with us this evening. Round of applause. And we have the winner of the Great Britain Sasakawa Foundation Prize, Masayo Sito, for a translation of the Kobe Hotel Memoirs by Sanki Sito. Masayo is based in Japan and has sent us this video.
Hello everyone, my name is Masaya Saito, and it is a great honor to receive the Great Britain Sasakawa Foundation Translation Prize. I'd like to express my sincere thanks to the Foundation and the Society of Authors for this incredible recognition. This award reflects not only my own efforts, but also the invaluable support I've received from many people along the way. For me, translation is more than just transferring words. It is a way to connect cultures and foster understanding. This award reaffirms my belief in the power of words to transcend borders and unite us all. In a world where conflicts and wars continue, it is particularly meaningful that the Kobe Hotel Memoirs has received this prize. As I wrote in the introduction, the author, Sanki Saito, was a poet who spent his life seeking freedom. Even during the war years, when Kobe, where he was living at the time, was under threat from the air raids, which finally destroyed the city in 1945. Shortly after the war, he visited Hiroshima and wrote, Hiroshima ya tamago kuu toki kuchi hiraku, which I translated as Hiroshima, to eat a boiled egg, a mouth opens. This haiku, which conveys to us the horror of war, appears on page 141 of the Kobe Hotel Memoirs. Once again, my heartfelt thanks for this great honor. May we all find a way to coexist in peace, despite the challenges of our time. Thank you.
The end is nigh. I'd like to reiterate my congratulations to all the translators and editors recognised this evening. Allow me also to extend my thanks again to the sponsors of all our prizes that I've already mentioned, as well as Hawthornden Foundation and the Amazon Literary Partnership. These prizes and tonight's event represent the culmination of over a year of work, not just by our judges, but also by the Society of Authors staff team. So thank you to the communications, events, and prizes teams for your sterling work. The books on our shortlists can be purchased online via bookshop.org, and a contribution from every purchase goes towards the Society of Authors Access Fund. Thank you to everyone who's joined us via the live stream. It's been wonderful to have you with us. You can carry on the conversation online using the hashtag Translation Prizes. Winners and runners-up, please join me on stage for one final group photo before you leave the theatre. Everyone else, I invite you to make your way out to the foyer where the drinks reception awaits and we can raise a glass to our winners. Thank you. winners and runners-up. Please. Don't be shy. The photographer's very bossy.